click, 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 click. The click track is on. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Why Aren't You Famous podcast.
Ellen Cherry is on methamphetamines, ladies and gentlemen.
No, I'm not. You're on drugs. I'm not on drugs. You're on drugs. I'm on the one drug that I do like to have every day. Caffeine. Good morning.
You're barely a coffee drinker.
I'm barely a coffee drinker. I'm not as dedicated to it as you are.
Yep.
How much coffee do you think you drink a day? A pot?
A pot and a half.
Wow.
Sometimes 2 pots.
Do you have just like a little gerbil heart? Is it like...
That's the name of my next record. My gerbil heart.
'Cause I got a gerbil heart. Do, 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 do.
Yes, it's succinctly sums up the sound of the record I'm going for. Dee-dee. Dee-dee, dee-dee, dee-dee.
You're like, oh man, Paul Westerberg, what a great musician. A great writer.
I got a gerbil heart.
That was the first lyric that he had for that.
Na na na
Na,
na
na,
na
na, na,
na 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 na.
Do I date you? Do I put you in a treadmill? Do I run around with... I don't even know. Okay, we've drifted off course.
We have.
We didn't even start on course.
We did not. You're out of control.
Yes.
You're a loose cannon. You're a loose podcast cannon.
So, despite a government shutdown, we are at work. We're at work today.
Those stupid Democrats. I hate them so much.
I do want to, if any government workers are now able to listen to our podcast because they have been furloughed, I do feel for you and hope that you are able to return to work soon, because I think there are a lot of vital jobs and it's important for the economy. And I'm disappointed that there's a government shutdown, because the first, like all these... People think that there's not necessary services that get cut, but there's a lot of stuff that gets cut that's very important. And the last time the government shut down in 2013, the way that I experienced it, and not that this was some huge tragedy, but it was disappointing, is that my parents had come up to visit me from Texas to witness the beauty of the National Wildlife Refuge at Chincoteague.
Oh yeah, you didn't see that, did you?
Island. No. So the night before the government shutdown, we walked on the beach and had this nice sunset, and I was just like, "This is going to be great tomorrow. It's October. It's going to be beautiful, and there's not going to be that many people here." Next day, government shutdown. Couldn't go to Assateague Island.
And all because of a Texan named Ted Cruz.
Yeah. Yep.
Take that. And by the way, wireless radio listeners, Ellen Cherry is from Texas.
I'm from the state of Texas, the country of Texas. But I did not elect that fool.
Ooh.
I did not
tough words.
I did not elect that fool.
Tough words.
Is he still alive? I haven't heard from Ted Cruz recently.
He's still alive.
Ow! I'm just kidding.
Wow,
Oh, that was mean.
Damn, girl.
Wait, can we delete that?
Damn, girl. No. I'm going to put some reverb on it.
No, that's
tighten
mean.
it up.
No, I actually do want you to take that out.
No, well, we'll see what happens.
Okay. I'm from Texas. Is Ted Cruz still alive?
Don't say it again.
And you say yes.
Yes.
That's great. I'm glad he's still alive.
Uh-huh. Okay.
I don't really mean that. That totally slipped out, and it was from a very dark place, and I apologize, because that's not a nice thing to say. Do you forgive me?
Oh, I don't care. I have to have some modicum of care if I'm going to be able to forgive somebody. Like you have to give me something that I don't want in order for me to forgive you for it. And
that's just
you gave me something I don't really care about.
I know, but it's just a mean thing to say.
It is a mean thing to say, but
I apologize.
Okay, well, Ted Cruz accepts your apology.
Thanks, Ted Cruz's proxy.
And he takes away your Medicaid. I accept your apology, and in lieu of your apology, I'll take away your Medicare.
I think we should start over.
Nope, we're going, girl. My Logic Pro does not stop and rewind. Unfortunately.
Dang.
I can only bleep out heartless comments.
I know, that was heartless. I'm not really that way.
Well, that's what happens. That's the price of fame, Ellen Cherry.
I guess.
It's your sense of empathy and
gets
emotional.
removed. Yeah.
You no longer are a part of the human collective. You've become larger and better and greater, and you're above it.
But how did that happen to just little old me with no fame?
I don't know.
I think it's because I've had a little bit of psychological damage recently.
That could be.
So some psychological and
Emotional shell shock.
Yeah. So I apologize one final time.
Oh God.
For saying that it was not intentional.
Put it in a record, would you?
Okay.
Okay.
So we're talking about the price of fame today.
The price of fame, yeah. How is fame? You know, your own personal sense of fame, Ellen Cherry. What at what cost is that to you?
I'm not famous.
No, because the savings.
The savings.
The savings. I've saved so much money in my pursuit of fame.
I don't know if people know this, that when you're at our level of fame, people occasionally.
There's a level.
Yeah, there's a level of fame. I feel like what happens is that people ask you out for coffee a lot.
Do they?
And then sometimes they actually buy the coffee for you. So there's savings, like you save, depending on which coffee shop you go to, you can save like $2 or $3.
Well, someone's always willing to buy you a drink at a show.
Yeah, but I don't drink, so at shows especially. I mean, I drink sometimes, but I don't drink at shows. That demon alcohol.
Demon alcohol.
Yeah.
Sweet, delicious demon alcohol.
Poison. It's a poison,
it's
actually.
It's not a poison. It has nutrients and vitamins. And it's
No,
good for you.
I think that alcohol can be a fun thing if you can enjoy it, if it's enjoyable. I sometimes enjoy alcohol. I'm not a teetotaler.
Oh, very good.
But anyway, I don't want to talk about alcohol.
Yes, ma'am. Fame, the price of fame does not impact either of us.
Yes.
Because, there's nowhere near the realm of fame.
Yeah.
So, okay, well,
see you later.
Glad you guys listened to the podcast. I'll cue up the outro mix and we'll be out of here.
That's it. We've discussed it.
Yeah, we have discussed it.
Okay, so my perception of the price of fame is that in my adult years, I would say the last 20 to 25 years, what fame has looked like to me and what has cost is that there's this very mythological story where the person is experiencing, a meteoric rise to fame.
Right.
And then they're, praised and experiencing financial success and adoration and getting more and more exposure. And then that got even more souped up during the internet as the internet became popular, usable, existing. I don't know. Ubiquitous. Yes, I love
permeating.
that word. Yes. And then there was this, it's a very familiar story of like how much we love to lift people up and then break them down insidiously. Yeah. And then what happens is the breakdowns have been so spectacular. I mean, like to watch somebody be in true psychological distress and shave their head, for paparazzi.
That poor girl.
Like to know that was like, and then Sinead O'Connor, like I don't even know what's going on with her, but for the last couple of years, she has had estrangement from her family. She's had very public struggles with mental illness. And then even to the point of being in a hotel room in New Jersey a couple months ago and like putting it out on Facebook, which you think she's a famous person. Surely she has a manager who's checking in on her every day.
There's several levels of
like
people who are there to help her.
Yeah, and you would think that, but how then you realize like, no, she seems really, really terribly isolated and in crisis and is bravely showing all of us the nasty underbelly of like, it doesn't matter that she was famous and is still famous and considered, an amazing artist. She's suffering, and that just seems like a huge price to pay for it.
Which is funny because you and I were also talking about BoJack Horseman.
Yeah.
And what a interesting cross section or dissection of fame and glory days as well, that kind of glory days effect that happens with people, but just like how empty and dare I say lonely
and aimless his life seems. Yeah. If you're not familiar with this series, it's an animated series that you can watch on Netflix, and the premise is that The main character was on a hit show in the 90s that ran for 9 seasons, was very popular but sort of fluffy about
A horse raising two children. Or
three,
is it
three kids,
three
yeah,
children?
three orphans, and their shenanigans, and then became very wealthy off of it, and then didn't really do much after that. And he reveals the interim period of 15 or 20 years of how lonely he is. Like, he's a really deeply lonely person. And the season that I'm watching now is he's going to a really dark place where you can see that he's just making one bad decision after another. And the people that would normally rescue him from his own bad decision making, have started to realize, like, they don't want to go down with the ship. Like, they're not going to be drowned by him. And one of them even says that, like, you're a drowning person and I got to get out of here. And he ends up with, another actress in his old show who's even more susceptible to that than he is.
Kind of like the Lindsay Lohan type of deal.
I mean, to watch it from the outside, to watch Fame from the outside, which I feel like a lot of us are doing. And because you and I are not pursuing that, we're just trying to pursue beauty through music and describing our emotions and being creators. And not that famous people don't do that. It just looks littered with just like, oof, you get, I mean, and maybe that's my cynical view, because I don't know, the morning show is full of happy, peppy people who are famous and seem to be handling it well, you know.
Dilated eyes. And well, it reminds me of we opened the show talking about Paul Westerberg, and on the last Replacements record, All Shook Down, the title track, he says, praises they sing, the register rings. They praise us drunk, say we're starting to drown. And then later in the song, he changes it to praises they sing, shake my hand as I drown. And it's like, you have that kind of like, the shift of the third person to the first person type of thing. And like, no matter all the money or the praise that you get, it doesn't change the fact that you're still gulping water.
Yeah.
You're still sinking like a stone to the bottom of the ocean. Oh, my cousin Donnie.
No.
He went to Ocean City once and
No. We're not going down there.
Oh, come on.
No, we're not going down the ocean hole.
No. You get me, baby.
So, yeah, I mean, I guess I'm not able to see.
What aren't you able to see?
The positive aspects of it.
We're getting to the gritty
I'm
truth
out.
of it.
I'm out. I don't even want to. I can tell you the answer. I can tell you the answer right now why I'm not famous, because that looks terrible and scary.
It's awful.
Because, and I also feel like I tend to be, not tend to be. One of my challenges is that I am working on being more psychologically resistant to things that are not mine to carry. It's a long-winded way to say that I am staying in my own lane, trying to mind my business, work on myself.
Yes, you are.
I am.
You are. Yes.
I am. And
I believe you.
I think that when I look at what it would require, like the fortitude that it would require to be a famous person, I don't think that I'm constructed for it.
No, we're not built. We're not built for fame.
No.
No, and no human being actually is.
Yeah.
That's why they struggle.
Yeah.
I mean, and that becomes part of the narrative, and that narrative is really strong within our culture.
Yeah.
And then it's like I always like, it's like, oh, whatever happened to that person? I always liked them. Well, you don't even know them.
Yeah.
But like, well, I read that they were having trouble with this, and they're really going to break through on their next project or whatever. I'm like, how awful it must be for everyone to know that, and then like, I don't know.
And also to also talk about how you recover from a fall. Mm-hmm. How do you do that? And this idea that, well, I just did it by myself is not true. No, you have a team of people that are helping you recover. And I applaud people that are honest about it and open about it and say, I had to go to psychological therapy. I had to, get physically healthy. I had to step away from I had to trust get a manager that I could really trust that was looking out for my best personal interests, not necessarily the bottom line interest.
Right.
And
Which is hard to do if you're in that industry because I mean, you're a meal ticket to people.
And like in the BoJack Horseman show, his long-standing agent and friend,
Princess Caroline.
Princess Carolyn, she gets to the point where she's just like, she stop. I know I say that a lot. Everybody does.
In Baltimore.
She has to like really not step into that mess
right.
and protect herself because she's done it time and time and
right.
time again and
right.
gets used up. And his scampy little friend there, Todd, who I love, he's a little scamp.
Okay.
He's a little scamp.
I don't know if you could call him scampy.
He's a waif.
He's a scamp. He's not a waif.
He's like...
Is waif a gender neutral term?
I don't know.
I don't think it is.
Maybe it is.
It's probably going to shift now, but...
because we said it.
Because we said it, yeah. That's right.
How would you describe Todd's character? He's because he's not a hanger-on. He actually does something. He's BoJack's friend, and he's I love his character because he's super.
His character's evolved.
Yeah.
I mean, or at least been revealed.
Yeah.
There's been a Todd gender reveal. But oh yeah, that's I just thought of something funny to say on stage. I'll tuck it away.
But not here.
No, it would be funny if I said it here. I'll talk about it later.
Okay.
But the way he kind of like comes off as this kind of, he starts off being this kind of stoner entourage hanger on kind of guy.
Yeah.
To begin with, but he also has these awful ideas. But what's really great and what I really like about Todd is like, well, he has a plan.
And he executes it.
And he executes it, even if they're the worst plans ever. And, when he works with the character, Mr. Peanut Butter,
yeah.
Mr. Peanut Butter's like, agent's like, no, we cannot do. He's like, what's a great idea?
He's like, this is a great idea. I'm going to buy all the spaghetti strainers I can. And they start the car sharing service that's to make women feel safe. And then they end up doing it just like it's a gentleman's club in a car, basically. Ends up devolving, which I feel like is more a commentary on how good things get easily corrupted.
Yeah. Well, have you thought of? Have you gotten to the part? Because I've finished all the seasons so far, but the thoughts and prayers.
No.
Okay. Yeah, it's a really great thing.
I hate that phrase, thoughts and prayers.
Give it a view.
Okay.
It'll be good. All right.
We should play some essays.
Whew. Oh, that was a lot. Where are we on this? We're at 17
We're good.
Minutes, 17
Plus,
minutes.
we have to edit out a little bit of the beginning. So
I'm not editing anything.
Really?
I'm in control. Or do you trust me as your friend?
I do trust you.
I'm not going to do it. Oh, you can hear that too.
I can.
Okay.
Who's going first today?
I can go. I think you went first last time. I think.
I'm happy to play mine first.
Okay,
I don't
do
know.
yours first.
Okay, I don't remember what I wrote.
I remember. I listened to the first 5 seconds.
Okay. I can't believe I said that. I remember hearing Amy Winehouse on the radio around 2007, and the first song of hers I remember hearing was Back to Black. A rich and deep voice, snagged and throaty, singing about the loss of love and affection with a sense of acceptance, but also with regret and pain and anger. She seemed to be singing precisely what lonely felt like. I bought her album, which had many hit songs and seemed a masterpiece to me. Her sound was both familiar and innovative. She matched classic sentiments with current slang effortlessly, and she had incredible control over her main instrument, her voice. I knew what the tabloids told me about her, that she was too skinny, frequently trashed out on drugs and alcohol, a party girl who could barely stand up long enough to make it to awards shows. On the newsstands in the grocery store, I would see pictures of her with her thick eyeliner smeared, stumbling shoeless down a dirty side street with her bra exposed. Online, an image search shows the opposite, when she was healthy, in control and on stage with her beehive high atop her head and her beautiful strong jaw and pouty lips, powerful and in command of a full band. Yet the general impression I had was as she was more usually presented, a royal fuck-up, dripping with talent that would likely get wasted because she would surely meet an early demise. Only 2 of those things proved to be actually true. Amy Winehouse was dripping with talent, and she did die at only 27 years old, her heart failing due to the abuse of a drug that's legal, alcohol. But she wasn't a fuck-up like I had been shown over and over. I was quickly disabused of this notion even further when I watched the intimate portrait of the artist as a young woman in the 2015 documentary about her called Amy. In it, we are asked to watch as a young woman with incredible songwriting ability, a deep and creative spirit, and drive and passion for music recording and performance is basically put through the ringer. Yes, she had friends who were alongside her and music compatriots who further brought her words and melodies to fullness. Even with all of this swirling around her, I couldn't help but feel that Amy must have also been very, very lonely. I'm not the first to notice that her father, even after her death, was always looking to exploit his daughter's talent to his own gain. It's obvious that Amy worked hard and had immense talent, even from an early age. It surprised me what a talented and natural guitar player she was. So often, singers with voices like hers are rarely shown as multi-instrumentalists, as if it would be confusing to see that much talent in one person. It's also obvious that Amy had some real issues she needed to address, likely an eating disorder and a tendency for substance abuse, and that it seemed rare, according to this documentary, that there were people around her that cared enough about the long-term damage these issues might cause to actually step in and assist her. There were definitely plenty of people, including her father, who were very excited about how quickly she became famous. She was really, really talented, and she was really, really famous, and all of that happened in the span of less than 10 years. It seems so fast to me, and it must have seemed light speed to her. She died alone in her bed in 2011, and on her website, the official brochure of her life and what she produced, the last update was made over 5 years ago.
That's a happy tale.
It's a super happy tale.
Yeah, man. Amy Winehouse, you know, I didn't watch that documentary. I should probably watch it at some point.
It's very good. It shows you, I thought they did a really good job of showing her, like, how talented she was.
Right.
Like, I didn't even know. I thought of her as, like, you know, like you do a lot of pop singers where they're a product of a lot of people working on it. But
Right.
she
A lot of
really,
production.
yeah, she really, I mean, she was a strong writer, a good guitar player, understood music, knew her voice, had such an interesting and powerful voice. I thought, you know, I realized that she was, you know, people might have said that she was aping a sound or maybe a little bit reductive, but I don't think so. I thought it was really just like a singular voice, you know?
Well, and that's hard to, I think it's very, very difficult to support the argument that somebody is doing something intentionally if you're not that person themselves.
Yeah.
You know, like, we don't know what she was doing, or, you know, she was like, you know what, I'm going to rip this sound off and I'm going to make it, you know, oh, okay.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, there's the dismissive nature of, I guess, self-importance. Like, I mean, I know I've ripped on people in bands and stuff like that, and I know.
Well, and also she was so young in those 2 albums, you know,
Right.
like that's sort of when you're figuring out how you're presenting your
Yeah,
influences.
I mean, there's no telling what she could have done.
Exactly, and that to me is like the price that we all paid for her fame.
Right.
Is the fact that you don't get to see what she could have done.
Right.
You know, now being 35 or however old she would be now with more experience and having possibly gone through, you know, being sober and in recovery and what that might have revealed to her and her songwriting. Because she had a really keen and direct way and modern way of speaking that I appreciate. There was, in Back to Black, she says some lines that I would have not been bold enough to say. Like, she refers to, I think the second line of the lyric is something about getting his dick wet. And it's like, I wouldn't say that. That's, you know, like, that's too explicit for me, you know?
Right.
But she presents it, and I'm just like, she is speaking in a parlance that is of her age group. And I don't know, she made it poetic in a way. Anyway, but yeah, that's the price I feel that we paid. And the price that she personally paid is that she didn't get to experience life beyond the age of 27, which there's a lot to be
Oh,
revealed,
boy, there's so much. Oh,
Yeah, like she's just at the beginning of it.
let me think of myself at 27. Whew, I was an idiot.
Yeah.
I didn't know anything.
And also like the price that she was paying through that whole process that may not have even felt like she was paying any price. She may have just been stumbling through her, tendency towards substance abuse and having body dysmorphia, and I don't. It just looked like a really hard road to walk.
And then being on display, and not asking for that. I mean, nobody really asks for a tabloid to like take a picture of you at your worst.
Yeah.
It's like, well, thanks, guys. Well, you asked for it. It's like, well, yeah, but you could be nice.
Yeah.
Maybe let's be a little bit more human about the situation and be cool.
Yeah.
Rather than thinking that this is clickbait, or this is what's going to be this is what's going to pay your rent for the month, is somebody else's misery that you capture a moment of, or people at their worst.
And so
and they balance that with them at their best.
Yes, so that's the thing we started talking about, like the building up and then the beautiful destruction, and like how much more money it also makes when you know that star is eventually going to plummet.
Right.
And what you're just saying also made me think about the power of photography, and the Dave Chappelle in his last, I think it's in his third special, Equanimity, he talks about the bravery of Emmett Till's mother to have the picture of her son's casket published across national media.
Right.
I don't know the year of this, but I think it was the late 50s. And it's like that, seeing a public exposition of somebody's most devastating, terrible pain for the purpose of pushing the civil rights movement forward. But what is the same medium is being used to basically shame somebody at their worst moment, you know, like this picture of a drug addicted young woman, with her bra exposed and looking terrible, and like how must that have felt, and also the mental fortitude that you would have to do just to ignore all that. How many celebrities do you hear say like, I never Google myself, or I'm not on social media because I do not want to read the comments about the movie I made, or the fact that I was out eating, like at a restaurant and had a stain on my sweater or whatever, that kind of thing. It's
because that idea of like, well, we need to make sure, I know that we look at you as being perfect, but let's make sure that you're not.
Yeah.
And
it's a self-hating thing too.
Right.
It's like,
well, and that's and you throw in that whole layer of internet trolls, just the people who say just like awful things online. It's like, oh my goodness, like, and the self-satisfaction, I think that those those types of posts show that somebody's like, well, you just suck, because you're fucking stupid.
Yeah, or ugly, or fat, or whatever. Yeah,
I get that. Since we're never gonna meet, I guess I can wish cancer on you.
Right.
Well, because if it doesn't matter, if you can say that because you'll never meet this person, then I guess that makes it's okay for me to wish you the worst I can ever wish on you, which of course it doesn't.
Yeah.
And you had that recently, that Sarah Silverman thing where she was attacked by, a troll on Twitter.
Yeah.
And, the story might be sensationalized a little bit, probably a bit more or whatever, but for her to do that, I thought that was an interesting kind of like, I don't know if she can keep, it makes me want to go insult her, because then maybe she'll buy me a new van. But
she'll be kind to you.
but of course, which is ridiculous, but
she just acted like a caring human being to that person who was being a real jerk to her.
Right.
This is a famous person who is bothering to respond. She doesn't have to respond.
She doesn't have to respond.
And
she has the faculties around her enough to tear him down.
Yeah.
I mean, like, Sarah Silverman's pretty smart.
Yeah.
And she's pretty quick, and she's pretty acerbic.
Yeah.
I would not fuck with her. But she did, and she, this is a complete kindness. And then there was another article with her talking about how she went out and talked to Trump voters,
Yeah,
And she's
in her
like,
show, I
and
saw that
I
one.
love
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
You know, it's as crazy as it seems. I get it. Well, so whatever.
But also, like, think about how. Okay, so I don't know Sarah Silverman, even though I follow her on, what is it, Instagram? I don't even know.
Oh yeah, how many Instagram followers do you have now?
I don't know. Listeners, Grim and I have been
Friendly competition.
Friendly competition. I jumped on his gig on Thursday, and we were sitting at the bar hanging out, and all of a sudden he was getting all these new Instagram followers. So you should follow him at June Star Band on Instagram.
Yeah.
Mine is at Malapetitsa, which is spelled you do the little at symbol Malaptica.
Yep, mine's June Star Band.
I said that.
At June Star Band.
I did say that.
I'm repeating it twice, 3 times because I want more people to come to my
Okay.
Instagram site.
He's trying to catch up. I'm at like 573, I think, and you're at.
I'm at 353.
Come on, listeners, keep me ahead. Come on, keep me ahead.
Don't do it. Don't
Keep
do
me
it.
ahead,
Drop
keep
her.
me-
Drop her. Drop her.
So, yeah, what does Sarah Silverman have to? If I were her in that moment, my baser instincts would be to respond immediately. But she is, either through her own experience or her feeling of comfort and security, she took a moment and stepped back and thought, how can I respond to this person as if they are in crisis? I'm
Right.
going to respond to this person as if they are in crisis. I'm going to be healthily detached from them, but I'm going to, respond in a loving, kind way and offer assistance or in the form of not attacking.
Right.
And that to me is one of those, like, I mean, you and I both grew up with our entire adulthoods are, now being like watching the internet just grow and change. And it's not that it was like friendlier at the beginning, because I don't think that that's the case. It's just that, like, it's just fascinating that the emphasis is on the negativity and on, I don't know.
Right. Not the positivity.
Yeah, maybe I'm just reading the wrong websites, and maybe it's already like feeding into a sort of a cynical mindset that I already
You're
have.
spending all that time at DebbieDowner.com.
Yes. Everything sucks. Need to go to goodnews.com.
Goodnews.com, yes.
I'm going to have to look up these websites and make sure they're not like
Uh-huh.
whitehouse.com.
Yeah.
Don't go to whitehouse.com, everyone.
Ladies and gentlemen, go to whitehouse.com.
No.
I own a 15% share. Anyhow.
Should we listen to your essay?
Okay.
I think it's already started playing.
Yeah, well, don't worry about that. I'll take care of it.
Okay, good.
All right.
Sorry, Ted Cruz.
I usually write these essays in the morning, sitting in my first floor studio, an open space connected to the kitchen with windows facing east. Just over the tip of a garage across the way from the alley, the sun rises, and typically the colors of the sky slur from dark gray to orange to blue. This natural routine, along with some hot coffee, signals to me that it is time to get busy. The price of anything is the most precious and most irreplaceable agent in our lives: time. Human lives are finite. Decades, years, months, fortnights, weeks, days, hours, minutes, and seconds. The unspoken, unseen master clock marks a countdown to expiration that we can only predict when it becomes apparent that the end is nigh. And despite this truth, we tend to spend our time on jobs, people, and emotions like we have indefinite access to infinity. We are convinced that our success is somehow connected to a combination of material successes and mainstream status achievement. I'll work a job I hate for 30 years to get my retirement, and then I'll really start living. And now it's even worse. Like compounded interest, the advent of social media and online connectivity buries us in a sea of emotional debt we'll never pay off. This lifestyle choice is horrible. And maybe the word we should use is death style. Of course, When we are young and obnoxiously naive, our vision is solely toward the horizon of the possibilities of the next sunrise, without regard to age. However, as we get older, we become acutely aware that somehow, inexplicably, that sun is no longer rising. It's setting. This is not to say I'm fatalistic and we should all just go ahead and kill ourselves and get it over with. Nothing can be as inspiring as a deadline. Think about that term, deadline. Time's up. Finito, brah. The trick is when someone becomes aware that there is a deadline. And when that realization is acknowledged, your time becomes an important commodity to be valued and described as precious and not something to be wasted. When I bought my first really upscale guitar, the salesman said that if I humidified it and took good care of it, the guitar would certainly outlive me. Of course, I was 22 at the time, and the horizon was broad with possibility. But those words resonated and settled into my young subconscious. I had invested money in a tool to help me pursue a craft or an art. And in the same vein, I understood that I also needed to invest my time punctuated by the truth that I could make more money. I cannot make more time. It's time to get busy before that sun sets.
Sunrise, sunset, sunrise, sunset.
Yep.
I gotta get going. I have some stuff I need to do today, so I can't be sitting here talking to you about this shit.
Yeah, I hear you.
No, that is a good reminder. And I definitely see how obsession with fame and even being a famous person is an even bigger time suck, because it's a time suck away from something that is very finite.
Yeah.
But we do not think that way. We do not think in terms of finite life cycles. And it's interesting because I think that there's, I read a really cool article right after my car wreck, maybe about a year after, about this guy who had had a kidney disease or some kind of serious health emergency. And he said, there's that, it lasts about a year. And you're in this, when it gets fixed, you're in this wonderful mode of, if you're able to, a lot of people experience this, just like life is great and precious and every moment is this euphoria about you survived and you're still alive. And he said, but then you eventually go back into your default personality. And he's like, for me, it's cynical and depressive. And I was even more depressed because I thought, what's wrong with me that I didn't stay in this positive, life affirming place after I survived this thing? And we are who we are, right? You may default towards that. I definitely experienced that too for the first 6 to 8 months after the car wreck, where I just thought, I'm just so glad I didn't die. And I have the task at hand, which is to heal, to try to get better, play music again, drive again, try to figure out what the new normal is going to be. And you are sort of positive and the source of like, you're relaxed and calm, but then all of a sudden you go back into this mode of, for me, it was a simultaneous feeling of like, life is short, and also I don't care because nothing matters. It was very nihilistic to me. And I'm still in that phase of trying to figure out like, well, what is the point and what am I supposed to be doing and what do I feel like I'm supposed to be doing, because I don't have any external pressures. I don't have children. I don't have a spouse. I don't have, I'm really just responsible for myself, and I don't have a record label or any external pressure for creative output. The only thing is like, do I want to continue to do it? And that's not even true now, because what the thing I'm trying to figure out is like, how do I make money off of the thing that I can provide that people still want, which is live performance. But back to your essay. The idea of the deadline.
The deadline and the time, man.
The thing is that we don't know what the deadline is. And that's when you start to really telescope out of it, you're starting to realize that like all of our motions, all of our little dreams and activities are just us trying to pretend that we know what the deadline is. I did a financial planning thing a couple months ago, and he was like, well, let's assume you live to 96. And I was like, woohoo, 96, so far away. He's like, your money's going to run out probably about 25 years before that. And I was like, okay, that's not good. I don't want to spend the last 25 years of my life when I may not be in as good a health as I am now.
Right.
Like totally poverty stricken. How do I avoid that? I'll start thinking about it now, which is a smart thing to do. But the idea of the grace of having another, 54 years to do something is like magical. But there's a part of me that knows that that's absolutely not true.
Correct.
Yeah. Like,
we're staring into death, ladies and gentlemen.
I'm about to get into a car in a few minutes, after this is over, and drive and risk my life again.
It's always a risk.
Yeah.
It's always a risk. And I think where I was thinking about when I started thinking about the whole topic of the price, or, you and I had this conversation about, the topic is the price of fame, or is it the cost of fame? And there's this idea of like, well, I don't know which is worse. There's a price you pay, there's that. But then I started thinking like, well, what do you give up?
Yeah.
And like the idea that like, when I was teaching high school, I would talk to students about, we would talk about how you express yourself through your choices. And one of the things that we touched on was, if you don't like, if a company is supporting something that you don't agree with, well, don't spend your money there.
Yeah.
Find out where, find somebody where you want to spend, where you spend your money and where you spend your time are the two greatest pieces of, the two most powerful elements of anybody's lives.
So price is intentional.
Price is intentional.
Paying a price is intentional.
Yep. And how you choose.
Yeah.
That's the important part. And so like, I think about, and the idea about the guitar is like, well, your time has to be an investment. Like all these years of practicing, like you've been listening to the June Star back catalog.
Yeah.
And there is a direct correlation between my first record and my last record of like growth, like.
And you even repeat songs.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like you are not repeat songs. You are revisiting.
Revisited stuff that is like, oh, you know what? I play this so much better now than I did back then.
And it's evolved and changed because you've invested your time in it.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's, and that's the investment of the work. It's not the investment. Like people who are like, if you slog your life away because you want to be famous, you're an idiot. Because that fame is, as Amy Winehouse finds out, as everybody finds out, that it's fickle and it's fleeting and it's only for a momentary, it's only for a flicker of not even like a moment. It's a nanosecond. Because, I mean, like, Britney Spears I think she has a comeback coming up soon or something like that. That's what I hear, which I'm really excited about.
It's like the fourth comeback.
Right, and nobody cares. And now that we have, once again, let me get on my soapbox about decontextualization of our society through the playlist generation. There's no there anymore.
Yeah.
Like so what? Like so what? Like nothing has been done before, and nothing new is ever going to happen. That's where we live. We live because Hollywood can't create a new freaking story, so we have to reboot. Lethal Weapon.
Did that get rebooted?
I don't know. Everything gets rebooted. Like it's just like you got to be kidding me. Like, because this new generation, that movie was terrible back then. We're going to remake it. Like, why are you remaking it, dude? Could you come up with something new? How
did you feel about the Ghostbusters reboot?
I didn't see it. And maybe I will see it at some point when it's in Amazon Prime.
Yeah.
I'll probably watch it on Netflix. But, like, I don't have a problem. I don't, that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
It's not... It's different. It's also, I think that's a commentary more on women in comedy and women in society. I think that's probably the more important. Like to call that a reboot, I think is disingenuous because it's a reimagining.
Yeah, that's what I felt like about it too. Yeah,
it's a new perspective, and I think that's probably equally important for I'm going to say for men to see, but for women to see and women to feel. Because Ghostbusters, came out in 1983, 84 is when the original Ghostbusters came out. and that was a horrifying time in our nation.
Yeah.
And so the narrative, our narrative has changed, our culture has changed, and so that I think that kind of adapts to it. I I certainly hope that as we think about like how we invest our time in our in our narratives or whatever, I've lost kind of my thread. I was trying to get back on track with what I was saying before about.
Okay, sorry, I derailed you with.
But reboot.
Who are you gonna call?
I Ghostbusters.
Lady Ghostbusters.
Lady, that's right, Lady Ghostbusters. But I mean, to be honest, it shouldn't just be Ghostbusters because we don't.
No, I'm just I'm being sarcastic.
It should be gender neutral.
It's just Ghostbusters. General neutral Ghostbusters. That's what it should be called.
Gender neutral.
Who are you gonna call? General neutral Ghostbusters.
Gender neutral Ghostbusters. Yeah, let's get Ray Parker back. Let's get him to recut it. And well, whatever.
So we were talking about and I think that is an
investing time and fame,
and the difference between cost and price, because you talked about both of those in your essay too. The intentionality of how you're investing your time, and if your goal is. Even if your goal is to be famous, you have made a conscious decision. That's the price you're going to pay.
Right.
You're going to, eschew relationships, and, give everything over to rehearsal and talent and pursuing. And when we were talking about BoJack Horseman before and that, there's this one episode where he loses 2 projects because they're pursuing basically what is going to make him even more famous or capitalize on the fame that he might potentially get from an Oscar nomination.
Right.
And they're using that as a bargaining chip, and he ends up losing important work on an indie film that would have served his, spirit and the spirit of the people who watched it and the people who created it, and
Right.
also important financial work that he might have gotten from another big hit movie. And that's the price that he's paying, I guess, for fame. And then
Sure.
the cost of it, what I was talking about is the secondary cost of it is that that's the unintentional, unpredictable,
right?
But now very, very predictable.
Sure.
The predictable cost of fame is that we have this.
There's a 24-hour depreciation mode.
Yeah, it's it's so strange. It's such a strange. It's such a weird world we live in.
Which is why it's so funny, all those idiot kids who are eating Tide Pods.
What is that about? Because I don't even know what's going on.
It's about stupid people doing stupid things. So, but here's the funny thing, the YouTube star, it's I'm gonna get all these hits because I'm gonna put Tide Pods in my mouth and then die, or poison myself or whatever. It's nobody's gonna care about that, and we could actually kind of predict it in about 72 hours.
It's over.
It's finished, and now of course you've destroyed your,
What about that couple that the woman shot her boyfriend in the chest?
I didn't. What are you talking about?
So there's a young couple.
God.
What?
No, go ahead.
This is not a happy story.
Oh.
There's a young couple, 20 years old. 20. She's 20. He's 22. Whatever.
Oh, yeah.
They have a couple kids together, and they're trying to get internet famous, YouTube
right.
famous.
With a bulletproof.
No, he.
Oh, he's holding a book.
He's gonna the book is gonna stop this bullet. So
Yeah.
she shoots him in the chest and kills him.
Yeah.
And the thing is, they had talked about it. It was premeditated
Yep.
online, and they were doing it specifically. They told friends and family that they were doing
Tune
it
in.
for fame, and because they wanted to become famous. And then somebody ends up dead, and she's gonna have to go to jail for that.
Yeah.
There is a huge cost of a very warped, weird. Can you? I don't even know if that's in the DSM.
4.
Is it 4 now?
Mm-hmm.
This psychological.
I'm sure they're racing to figure that out because, and part of that is because our technology and how it's affected our culture has changed so rapidly that we're struggling to catch up. Legally, we haven't caught up, and culturally, and from a social mores, socially, we haven't caught up. When you think about online meeting, 2 decades ago, online dating was losers.
Yeah.
Now it's well,
That's how people meet.
now, okay. And because if you meet somebody, you can't really have a conversation with them because they're looking at their damn phone.
And the way that people interact.
Mm-hmm.
The idea that something that you would say over text is not perceived to be as damaging as something that you would say to somebody in person.
Oh, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Well, okay. I think we've got a little off the edge.
That's okay.
That's fine. There's nothing. It's fun.
It's fun.
It's fun. It's fun.
I want to thank everybody who's been listening. I just found out recently that we have people listening who are not related to us in any way. And
my dad hasn't listened to any of these. So
that's okay.
I think most of the CDs that I've put out are still shrink wrapped in his house.
He still loves you.
I'm not saying he doesn't. I'm just saying he doesn't listen.
So we're going to listen to, we're going to visit the part of the podcast now where we feature something that we think should be famous.
Yes.
And today's song was picked by Andrew Grimm.
Yay. And I picked, it's a guy named David Childers who is out of, I think he's out of Rocky Mount, North Carolina now.
Yeah.
And he's actually doing a little bit better than we are. He was on Mountain Stage.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. I was listening to some Mountain Stage podcast, and it was late at night, and I usually listen to one particular ambient record when I sleep at night, but then I kind of started mixing it up, listening to podcasts. And
you had a dream about David Childers.
Well, it was weird. It's like it was kind of like a half dream, and I was half conscious, and I was like looking around, and I was like, oh no, I'm listening to Mountain Stage. I was like, is that David Childers?
Did we play a gig with him, or you've played a gig with him?
I've played several gigs with him.
Yeah.
I remember the first June Star tour I ever did. I booked a show at the Cave down in Chapel Hill, which was a big deal to me.
See, I think I've played a show with you, or maybe through you, with David Childers at the Cave in Chapel Hill many years ago, because I feel like I've played a show with him.
Did we? I don't think we've played the Cave together, have we? I don't think we have.
I know that I've played the Cave.
Yeah, I've played the Cave many times.
Yeah.
But he was like, we got there and we were doing like 3 days out or whatever, and there was like a day in between I couldn't get, so it's like we got to Chapel Hill early, and we were staying with Shane Poteet, the original bass player from June Star, and I was like, let's go to the Cave and see what the Cave's all about, whatever. And we went there and we saw them playing. It was David Childers, and Eric Clover was playing guitar for him at the time, and who was in another band who ended up, Pie Shop Connection or whatever years later. But David was playing, and I was like, man, that guy's. I mean, he was so good.
Yeah.
And then sort of like became friendly with him, whatever, and we exchanged emails, and I hooked him up with some shows in Baltimore, and he's a really good guy, and I really just here's a guy who I think he's a lawyer.
David Childers is a lawyer.
Yeah, I think he's a lawyer. And he just
there's a lot of storytellers who become law talkers.
Yeah, it's kind of like a Spoon River anthology, Edgar Lee Masters type of thing.
But I don't even know any of those words. You're smart.
Yeah, I'm smart. Oh,
you're smart. You're smart.
I stayed in school. Oh, don't.
That reminds me of a Jesuit priest I used to know.
Yeah.
Father Jack D used to be like, "You're smart, but you're dumb."
You're smart, but you're dumb.
You're smart, but you're so dumb.
Was that when you were running around with the Bowery Boys?
Yes.
So
when I was a scamp.
When you were a scamp, yes. When you were a wee little scamp. So anyhow, this is a David Childers song off of a live record that he put out a few years back, and I just really like David Childers a lot. I think he's funny. This song is called "Mama," and oh boy,
hold on to your britches.
Yep.
Here's some David Childers.
Well, Mama used to beat my ass, and if I cried, she beat it twice. She carried a gun and a razor. Her heart was colder than ice. She killed my daddy and twisted my heart. I never had a thing she didn't tear apart. She didn't like me too well. My mama was a devil out of hell. My mama was a devil out of hell. Oh, well, I knew she would kill me one day, so I got out quick as I could. Slept in the woods and I froze to the bone. Finally ran off with a traveling show. He wore a big old turban, and he did magic tricks for the crowd that gathered on the baseball diamonds that they had in all the little towns. Well, he gave me stolen things to sell. He seemed to like me pretty well, 'cause my mama was a devil out of hell. corn and Super 8 porn behind the carnival tent, where they rented out the hoochie dancers to the geeks in the 1 and 10. He dressed us juvenile delinquents in Frankenstein skeleton suits, sent us out to give away tickets while he strutted in his rattlesnake boots. Well, I like the way the pretty women smell. They seem to like me pretty well, 'cause my mama was a devil out of hell. My mama was a devil out of hell. My mama was a devil out of hell. All right. Come out here. Thank y'all.
While we're recording.
Well, we're recording.
David Childers.
Yeah.
David Childers. I love his voice so much.
He's got a great voice. Sorry, I'm just making sure Meg doesn't jump up on the computer. He's feeling a little
Frisky.
Yeah. Well, it looks like Mouse is very interested
In my lunch.
In your lunch. So, yeah, I really like that whole I mean, obviously like the writing thing, like the turban and the snakeskin boots and like the
It's
Frankenstein
so
skeleton
descriptive.
suits and it's so fast too. It's only 2 minutes long, the song itself. It's really quick. So
And also to have a live recording that's a good live recording.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny, it's well written, and to hear other people enjoying it, and you just know, like, I don't know, I felt like I was very much in the scene.
Right, yeah. And that's a really great. I think it's called Live at the Backstop, is the name of that record. And it's got like 15, 16 tunes on it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's really good.
So it's a whole show.
Yeah, it's a whole show. So David Childers, take that, you magic man, you.
Thank you, David Childers,
Yes.
for law talking
Law talking.
and talking law.
There you go. He's walking the line. So let's see. Well, we're going to talk about the tour.
Yes, the tour is actually like we had some new improvement. Whoa, my chair just got pulled back by a feline.
Yeah, Migs.
You are gonna destroy. Stop it! You're gonna destroy this chair. Wait, I want to get a selfie with you.
You're not getting a selfie with him.
You don't think I'm gonna get it? You don't think I'm
Mig.
gonna grab it fast enough? Oh, I almost got it.
Almost got it. What's up, buddy?
I got a blur of him. Okay, so the tour we thank you to Ralph Sordell
Yes.
from Optimum Audio. He is a sponsor for a show,
Yep.
a private house show for his parents.
Yep.
Which means that we're going to have some money to put in the tank, which is great.
Woohoo! Money in the tank.
Shout out to Ralph.
Shout out to Ralph.
Supporting
and,
musicians.
And what else? And
If you need boutique audio services in the Washington, D.C. area,
Yep. Optimum Audio.
Optimum Audio.
Yeah,
Optimum Amplitude, Optimum Attitude, Optimum Audio.
Wow.
I wrote a jingle for them once with Jen and Scott Smith.
Huh.
Optimum Amplitude, Optimum Attitude, Optimum Audio. It's awesome.
Yes. You should put it on the record. Yeah, and then we also picked up Tulsa.
Where are we playing in Tulsa?
We're playing at the Mercury. The Mercury. I think it's just called the Mercury in
On
Tulsa.
a Monday.
On a Monday night. We got a half-hour opening set.
Woohoo!
It's pretty cool.
That is cool.
Yeah.
We're working on Dallas,
Working on Dallas.
which would be the next night.
Yep.
We have a house concert at my friend Kent Walker's either place of business or his home on Wednesday in Little Rock. Then we go to Birmingham, Moonlight on the Mountain.
Yep. And then that Friday is up for grabs because Nashville seems to be a little tough. So I'm gonna do my best to see if I can find something there.
Yeah, or like maybe is anybody listening in Auburn, Alabama, or
Oh yeah.
someplace in Mississippi
Or
or Tennessee
Atlanta.
or Atlanta? Yeah.
Yeah. You know what? Atlanta. I don't know if I know anybody there, but I'll see. Let me see. You know what? I will get on the old indieonthemove.com
Okay.
and try to figure it out.
Maybe that's a Friday though, right?
That's a Friday.
I was gonna say maybe we could do Red Clay Theater with Eddie Owens, but that's kind of a big deal.
Yeah.
And as you know, we're not famous.
We are not famous, but you have a good relationship with Eddie.
I do. I think Eddie's fabulous.
Well, we send him a note.
I will.
Send him a note. So, but everything else is kind of falling into place.
Yeah.
So,
We're gonna have a fun time.
are we?
Yes. Yes, we are.
I think we talked more about death and the end of time in this podcast than anything else. Welcome to Doom and Gloom Hour.
It's been kind of a weird, rough week. So,
yeah. Well, what are you gonna do?
So you've been it's been on the mind because, and like, I don't know. It's
just eat your lunch. My goodness.
Dear listeners, I got so hungry during this podcast, I had to eat my leftovers.
Yep. You know, I don't have anything to eat, and she's just blatantly.
It's so good.
It's so tasty.
Multigrain rice with ginger and edamame.
Oh, I hate all that
and
stuff.
Kale and cucumber kimchi.
Oh, is that a hipster salad? What is that?
No, it's from a place called Brown Rice.
Oh, Brown Rice, the hipster restaurant.
Okay, you guys can't see him right now, but he has a man bun on the back of his head. Andrew,
I do not have a man bun. This is not a man bun.
What is that called?
It's called managing my hair.
Ponytail in the back.
This is not a fashion statement. So anyhow, all right. Well, here we go. Ellen Cherry. Where can people find you on the web? Like, if they listen to this podcast and they're like, you know what? I wonder where I can find more information about Ellen Cherry. Where would they go?
You would go to ellencherry.com. Oh, big. ellencherry.com. And then if you wanted to be a subscriber for only $4 a month, you would go to ellencherry.bandcamp.com. And there you could find my music. You could purchase it for your own digital archives. I do have some print copies of CDs left. Happy to send them to you, especially for upcoming Valentine's Day gifts. Give your Valentine a Valentine. Do that. What about you? Where can we find you?
Well, you can find my stuff at junestar.com. June, JUNESTAR.com. I too have a subscription service at junestar.bandcamp.com /subscribe. $5 a month gives you everything that I do. We got a new record coming out in April, and
It's really good.
it apparently is it's a statement, one would say. And then I also post a song a week. This year I'm doing 52 public domain songs. I am 1 week behind, however, so there's going to be a two for tomorrow. I got to work on those. But also last year I wrote 52 original tunes. And you know what?
That's insane, dude.
You know what's coming up next, in 2 weeks?
Bomb.
February album writing month. Ellen Cherry, are you down for the challenge?
I'm going to come up with a new definition of the acronym for myself, which is failure always white male. Failure always with
Me.
With me.
With music.
With music. That's so putting a negative intention. I always try. Last year I started the essays about the car wreck, and that was good. I got like 8 of them done then, and then I added a couple this year. And so,
I'm gonna say that what you should do.
what should I do?
I mean, I don't want to mansplain too much, but here I am.
A man.
No, I think that think about the backing tracks you're doing for your essays, right? I would pick a drum loop. A drum loop, 3 chords, and the truth. That's all you need.
Yep.
And don't worry about lyrics. Do the music first. Just do verse chorus, verse chorus, verse chorus, verse chorus, chorus, or something like that, and just come up with some random things, and then force yourself to write within that parameter.
What if I did chorus, 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 bridge, chorus?
Ooh. How about pre-chorus, chorus, bridge, pre-verse,
Chorus line.
chorus? Start kicking your heels up.
One singular sensation.
I don't even know that song. What is it?
What?
It's a musical.
That's what we're listening to on tour.
Oh, good Lord, we are not listening to that. Okay. Well, anyhow, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for listening to the Why Aren't You Famous podcast. We are going to
we have
sign
proved
off.
once again why we aren't famous.
Why we aren't famous, and you should not be famous either.
No.
Let's all be obscure together.
Obscurity forever. Woo! Bye.
I don't even know who.